Hello and welcome back to One-on-One Shadowboxing. Have your say. Professor Paul Connett, have your say about fluoride and waste management. So Paul, tell me about your first experience with waste management and how can you carry this fight over 28 years?
Good question. 28 years ago, I found out they were trying to build a trash incinerator in our county, northernmost county in New York State, St. Lawrence County. And at first I thought it was a good idea. I said, get rid of all those landfills, leaking landfills. Yeah. You'd make energy, only one facility, you could tightly monitor it. And then I discovered, to my horror, that simply by burning household trash, you make the most toxic substances that we've ever been able to make in a chemical laboratory, dioxins and furans. And then, of course, you also release toxic metals from stable matrices. And then when you've done all this, you've got ash left over for every 3 or even 4 tons of trash that you burn. You get 1 ton of ash. And after you got through all that, then you realize that even if you made this practice safe, which is highly difficult, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense in the 21st century to spend so much money destroying resources that we should be sharing with the future. We need zero waste as a stepping stone to sustainability. And the key is in looking at that step. It goes something like this. Everybody agrees that we need to recycle, reuse, compost, repair, etc., etc., etc. But you've always got that little stuff left over, the residues. Yes. And that's when the incinerator company comes in and says, we need to build a big, shiny incinerator and get rid of it, destroy that stuff. No, we don't want to get that stuff out of sight. We want to make it visible. These residual products and packaging are bad industrial design, unsustainable design.
So if we following the design patterns, then we always get, the end product is the waste.
That's right.
So we have to make designs which are?
That the citizens can reuse, the citizens can repair, the citizens can recycle, and the community can compost. That's what we need to do.
The biggest problems with waste, which are the biggest polluters? Or the most important, if you're making, a list of your targets?
Well, it's not quite what you might expect me to say. I would say, in terms of targets, the first target is the organic waste. The waste from kitchens, the waste from restaurants, the waste from hotels. Because there's that organic waste which is going to cause a nightmare in your landfills. And it's going to contribute to global warming with the methane. But we want, especially in Australia, those organics back into our soil, producing more food, more vegetation, and so on. So that's the first place to start, is to get the organics clean from our hotels and restaurants. And the second thing is reuse. Now, recycling is high volume, low value, whereas reuse is low volume, high value. About 1/3 of the value in our discards are in reusable objects. And I like the notion of a reuse and repair center to create jobs, to train people, and to act as a community center around which your whole educational program can revolve, and also to be a seed of regenerating the village within the big city. How you formalize this pressure on industry. And I would like to do it with a facility in front of the landfill. I have 10 steps to zero waste, and this is step 8. Step 8, okay. Step 8 is in front of the landfill, you build a residual screening and research facility, a residual separation and research facility. You could do that here at your landfill. They're talking about building an incinerator here, but you could put in this residual separation facility. And in that, you pull out more recyclables, more toxics, you stabilize the dirty organic fraction above ground before it does damage underground. And they are up and running in Nova Scotia. They exist. But what we need to do is put into there a zero waste research center and involve our professors and students and maybe industrial designers who are going to
look at each of these waste, individually and measure and make decisions on what's really wrong.
Yes,
is coming here.
Study it. Study our
yes.
mistakes. This could be the laboratory for sustainability. It's common sense in action. It's politics in action. It's a new kind of, in Italy, it's a new politics, not the talky. The worst politicians in the world for talking, the Italian politicians, never agree on anything.
No.
But the concrete action, the politics of doing.
Yeah.
And young people, it's an extraordinary thing that's happened in Italy with a comedian called Beppe Grillo,
yes,
who got more votes in the last election than anybody. The Cinque Stelle movement, one of the ideas that was floating out there was zero waste. And hitherto, we could only reach the communities that were fighting incinerators. No incineratori, no incineratori, no discarica. You tapped into the politics of no. But what Beppe Grillo did was to tap into the politics
of action.
Yes. These young people wanted. And so it's positive. And that's what it means to me today. Zero waste is my yin or yang, whatever it is. My frustration, my negative is no fluoridation. My positive is yes. Yes to Refuti Zero. Yes to zero waste. Yes to sustainability. Sustainability. It's better for the economy, more jobs. It's better for our health, less toxics from incinerators. It's better for our universities, more meaning. It's better for our planet. It's more sustainable. And it's better for our children because it offers more hope. This whole zero waste sustainability agenda starts with everybody, these 10 things.
Yes.
Source separation. And then when we source separated, door-to-door collection, organics, recyclables, then you've got the reuse and repair centers, then you've got the waste reduction initiatives, then you've got the pay-by-bag system.
Yeah.
So the compostables are free, recyclables are free, but the residuals, the more you make, the more you pay. Very effective.
It's just remind me, Paul, of my childhood, when I was living in the countryside in a very small village, and every household is managed its own waste, and, the human waste included. And that was, village practice of common sense. What we're recycling, how we're recycling it, and what goes into from the household waste into the animals to feed and so on and so forth. And what goes into the gardens and so on.
Yes.
So that's a long-lived practice in countries in the history of mankind. And we just somehow in the 20th century and 21st century, we just forgot all the common sense.
Yeah.
We're just throwing it away for no reason.
What's waste? Look in your garbage can. Look at home. What is waste?
What is that?
It's paper, cardboard, glass, metals, plastic, food scraps. Why do you need this huge machine when we've got these 10 things plus common sense?
Paul, if you compare with the issues of the 70s, about environmental fights and sustainability and waste management, and the 21st century, what's changed? What was the buzzword in the 70s in England?
I think it was gross pollution. Gross pollution. We were talking NOx and SOx, nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, photochemical smog, pollution, air pollution, water pollution. A great deal of that gross pollution has been tackled. But now we're finding the subtle aspects of pollution, the endocrine disruptors, chemicals that can disrupt hormonal systems at parts per billion, parts per trillion levels, very difficult to deal with. And then on the air pollution, nanoparticles, particles that are so tiny they go straight through your membranes. So much more subtle things. And also this huge shift from the 20th century to the 21st century, when the focus on waste was toxicity. How do we make this safe? To sustainability. How do we use materials in our daily lives and still pass on to the next generation? How we take our society off overconsumption. Consuming so much, overconsumption. We're programmed from birth that the more we consume, the happier you become. And unfortunately, people like this model. You work for 6 days a week, then you take the car and you go to the shopping mall and you buy the things that you've been seeing that's been advertised throughout the week on television. People like it, but there's no way our planet can sustain that, especially with India and China now catching up with our consumption patterns.
Yeah.
What's the alternative? The only thing I can think of is, don't think of your life built around a series of objects that you're going to save up for to buy, and ultimately you'll end up with the yacht with the gold-plated showers and with the toilets worth $6,000. Don't think of life as that progression. Think of life as other people, establishing as many relationships. Get as many relationships as you can. Or as I like to say, adopting an old slogan from the Vietnam Peace Movement, make love, not waste.
I hope the fluoride not damage the world's brain completely, so we can understand what you say and we can adapt that. Paul, thank you very much for your visit, and I wish you, good health for your fights on the waste management and fluoride.
Thank you very much. Most stimulating conversation.
Please don't forget, next week, same time, same channel, one-on-one shadow boxing. Have your say.